Hi everyone, my name is Garrett Saville. I'm a recent college graduate from the University of California, Riverside. I'm interested in pursuing a career in sports, so today I'd like to interview Ben. And the first question I'd like to ask is, can you give me a brief summary of your current role and primary responsibilities?
Hi, yeah, I work at ESPN in international production. I've been at ESPN for almost 16 years now. Currently, I produce shows for all around the world, primarily Australia, England, Southeast Asia, the Caribbean. I produce a baseball show called Caps Off, UFC Fight Camp, which is a UFC show that goes all over. I do SportsCenter Asia. I've produced SportsCenter in America. I've produced NBA content in America. I've dabbled in a lot of different things.
Awesome. When you say you're producing this kind of content, what exactly is the content? Like, is it like segments on TV? Is it like like, can you interpret a little bit more on that for me, please?
Yeah, sure. It's a Sports Center show. For example, yesterday I produced Sports Center Asia, and we had a primary focus on the Olympics and the Asian athletes that won gold and performed well. And then we had a soccer slash football over there segment where we broke down Manchester United's re-signing of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Thomas Tuchel getting Manager of the Year in Germany. We had an F1 segment. It's basically Sports Center, but it's catered to whatever market that we're in. And that's the best way. So if you watch Sports Center in America, it's all college football, it's NBA, it's this, it's that, right? Over there, it's similar, just different sports.
Gotcha. So like, if you had to explain it in a simple way, what's like a day-to-day routine for you? Is it always inconsistent? It's always a new segment, always a new
It's a,
topic?
Yeah, it's inconsistent, right? So it's the news of the day. So it's whatever. It's just like you would produce a sports center or a news broadcast. It's whatever's happening in the news is what you talk about. You can sort of script things out a little bit from a standpoint of like, okay, I'm going to have this person be my guest, but what he or she may talk about will differ depending on what's going on in the world of sports in this case.
Awesome. I really like that. The next question I was going to ask you is, what key lessons have you learned from working in sports?
I mean, the biggest lesson, and it's not just a sports lesson, is listening, understanding that you're not the smartest person in the room, and you shouldn't expect that you're the smartest person in the room. Everybody's got an idea, everybody's got a voice. For example, we had a very long, in-depth conversation over the racist comments that were made to Lewis Hamilton last week following the F1 crash. I went in with the conversation with my team, which was a mix of everybody, right? Different races, different colors, different men, women, everybody, and we came up with a plan, and it was infinitely better than what I would have had. And that's because we listened, we talked, everybody had a voice. There wasn't just, my way or the highway kind of mentality. And that's sort of something that I think as society, if we can develop that kind of, that plan, that idea, that concept of giving people a voice, listening, understanding that there's different walks of life, different backgrounds, whether it's religion, race, sex, orientation, whatever. Everybody's got a story, everybody's got an opinion, everybody's had experiences. And so being open to what other people have to say and understanding that, again, you're not the smartest person in the room, and nor should you be. You should, when you're working on a team, like, yeah, you might have the final say, but any boss that I've ever worked for doesn't need to necessarily be in sports. It's, I used to bag groceries at a grocery store. Those bosses that listen to their employees respectfully, and that relationship, that leadership's been established, that I'll listen to you, but ultimately it's still my call. Those bosses are the ones that get the most out of their employees.
Interesting. So then would you say you learned it at the bagging grocery store job to listen
All,
kind of?
all of the above. I've had, experiences where I worked at a nursing home where I literally, I put food on the table for people that were, unable to take care of themselves. So I learned respect of my elders and trying to treat people kindly that can no longer take care of themselves, right? Like that's a very important life lesson to learn as a high schooler. I bag groceries and help people with different walks of life at a grocery store that, some people are rude, some people are kind. anything in between. And then at ESPN and some of the other TV jobs that I've had, you see a lot, you get to learn a lot, and you take little bits and pieces of what you like from this person, what you don't like from this person, and you try to mix it all together and kind of, bring your own little spin and style to it. And then that's how, you become who you are, right? And that's not just work, that's life. You get your experiences from going to college, or you get your experiences from, being in a fraternity or whatever the case may be. And that shapes who you are. Being a dad has shaped, I can't tell you how much that's changed me. Like raising three kids, two daughters and a son, like there are things they experience and do, and that we never experienced. Like I had to go through a bullying situation with my son. I never really experienced that as a kid. It just, I didn't, I was blessed not to have that situation. So you take little bits and pieces, and then, like I said, put it in a pot, mix it up, and that's sort of who you become.
Awesome. I like how you kind of tied it back into being a dad, and I really like that kind of analogy and kind of, or not analogy, but like connection. The next thing I was going to ask you was, what are one or two highlights or accomplishments from your career?
Oh, geez.
If you had to choose a couple, I know.
Well, I'll hit on some highlights, right? So, I produced, Caps Off, my baseball show, in London for the London series for the Red Sox and Yankees, and had my work on the Jumbotron in the stadium, which is pretty wild to have that experience and see your work on TV. I edited the tease montage, opening montage for LeBron James's decision on ESPN.
Wow.
So that very first video was me. I edited that. I did all the graphics for the show, and I cut a lot of the video for that show. So, I'll put A Rumors to bed. We did not know where he was going. So I literally had graphics made for the Heat, the Cavs, everybody, at the time. I did graphics for Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame ceremony. So I was the guy in the truck making those. We made over 2,000 graphics. Me, the researcher, Lisa James, and Carly Pavlock was the graphics operator. And we had, like I said, north of 2,000 graphics, because we had, brothers, sisters, cousins, whoever was going to be there for all the Hall of Fame inductees. So that Michael Jordan meme, I was there for it. I was there for the crying meme. And I produced Sports Center. That was a pretty big high. That was pretty cool. Scary, but cool. We did it. I've produced, NBA, features where I get to meet players. I've interviewed LeBron. I've interviewed, some other, big athletes like Mike Trout. So I've been very blessed to have a lot of different, highlights and experiences. And each time you go do something, you get better, and you learn from mistakes that you make.
Do you ever like look back at some of the work? Like, do you ever like record a segment or a show and like rewatch it and be like, wow, I did that?
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, sometimes. When I interview Larry Johnson of the Knicks, on the 4-point play where he did the whole like LJ, that thing, that was pretty neat. That was a pinch me moment, because I had his phone number, my phone.
Wow.
I was one of the first like athletes, like, cause we did it at his apartment in New York. So I literally went there, organized a shoot. And then I filmed, with Anthony Davis and Jalen Rose, both of them worked and work at ESPN. And so we did a whole piece on it, and that was my idea, my concept. My coordinating producer, her name was, Amina Hussein, who no longer works with ESPN. One of the best bosses in the world, by the way. She's amazing. She gave me the chance. She's like, yeah, just go do it. And I said, what? Wow. Excuse me? She's like, no, just go do it. Like, do it. I'm like, oh, okay. And, they put me in contact with Larry's agent, and Larry was very kind, very generous, a massive human being. He is a big dude. And we did it in the lobby at his apartment, and we shot it. We did it. And it was I learned a ton, because it was one of my first times I did something like that. And, I've applied it to different things. I'm literally about to go on the road in 2 weeks. I'm going to Iowa for the Field of Dreams baseball game, for my for my show, and I'm going to do something I've never done before, which is I'm going to edit my show in the field. So I produce, I edit, I do graphics, I do all that, and I'm going to take it on the road and do it in Iowa.
Wow, that's crazy. Did you imagine this kind of career when you were younger?
So if I ever find it, in my high school yearbook, I said I was going to work at ESPN one day. It's written
Wow.
in black and white. Yeah. And so I went to school. I went to, it's now Northeast Vermont University, but it was Linden State College before. And I had the best professors in the world to kick me in the pants if I needed it, which I did as a college kid, but then give me rope and understanding that I could pursue things. And so this one professor, his name was Tim Lewis. He paid my gas to go to the NCAA tournament in Worcester, Massachusetts to watch the University of Vermont when they upset Syracuse. I was there for that. I
Wow.
wasn't able to be in the building because I didn't have credentials because I was a college kid. But we were there for, the fan experience, talking to players after the fact. Me and my cameraman, John, were, I think might have been like an Applebee's or something. Like we were just watching the game and we just dropped money on the table and ran back to the arena because we weren't allowed. We weren't credentialed. So
Yeah.
we must have gave like massive tip. There you go. And we just threw the money down and went. And we went back and were able to get some player sound and player reaction. They encouraged me, all the professors, to try it, to live the life. So I learned how to shoot my own camera at Channel 3 WCAX in Vermont as an intern, and got to learn how to shoot my own stuff and edit my own stuff, and one man bandit, they called it. And then I voiced over my own highlights in college and found out that I had a face for radio. So I went behind the scenes, and, it's just, one thing has led to another with ESPN, where I've been blessed to shoot my own stuff at Fenway Park and learned a lot that day, and I screwed up a lot and got better for it. I'm smart enough to ask for help with the camera work and focus more on the producing and the editing. But I learned,
Hmm.
you're so many times people are afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And, sometimes that's because of the leadership that you're working with, or, your own self doubt, or whatever the case may be. And making mistakes makes you better. I hate making mistakes. I kick myself, for making mistakes. But when you make a mistake and you learn from it and you don't do that same mistake again, you grow from it, right? Like I had my biggest mistake in my career, and I'll tell this now. It was David Beckham's debut in MLS, and I was busy, just editing, doing stuff, and I put the wrong soundbite in the show. So instead of David Beckham's post game interview, it was David Beckham's pre game interview that aired after the first highlight.
Hmm.
And I got in trouble, right? Like I deservedly so. I got, reprimanded and told, you got to check your work, you got to double check the editor, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I got better from it. And was it pleasant? No. And is being criticized pleasant? No. But too often nowadays, folks they think it's a personal attack when you get criticized to make yourself better.
Hmm.
And if it's done in the right manner, whether it's the compliment sandwich that I call it, where hey, you did this great. You could do this better. But you did this pretty well too. Whatever method to make somebody better, as long as they're receptive to it, I think it's just a matter of how you approach it. is
Did your college major correlate with the job field then?
Oh yeah. I
Okay.
majored in broadcast journalism, and this is how old I am. We had tapes, and then we were transferring, or we were in the process of becoming digital. So my senior class was one of the first to get in on. Oh shoot, I'm blanking on the name of the editing project now. Not Adobe Premiere. Anyways, it was one of the first to learn it. And so I've since forgotten that software, even though it's really big. And now editing, it's called Grass Valley, which is, Quantel is, the parent company, or what it used to be, and Adobe Premiere.
Sure. Last question I have for you, and then I'll let you go. What advice would you offer students and young professionals seeking a career in sports?
I mean, the advice that I have is not just about sports. It's seeking a career period, and that is be receptive to feedback. Again, it's not a personal attack when somebody's trying to make you better. Be organized, be detailed, show up on time. Um, some of the things that you can't teach is work ethic. You need to be able, especially in broadcast journalism, not just sports news. You got to be okay with missing some family functions, or you got to be okay with working on Christmas Day or working on any holiday that's important, and having those conversations with yourself to make sure that that's something that you love and that you're okay with doing. I've unfortunately I've missed a family function or two just because of work. But I'm also blessed that I have employers that if it's something really important, we figure it out and we figure out a way to make it happen. As far as, sports in particular, love sports, love it, enjoy it, make sure that becomes something that once your job starts consuming you, that you still enjoy it after the fact. For example, if you're working on MLB, you better love MLB because you're going to be seeing MLB from March, sometimes February through the end of October into November. So that's a long time to watch and be a part of MLB. And if you love it and it's great and you got your team and whatever, then it becomes not as much of a job, right? It becomes more, you're that kid living the dream, right? Like that's kind of what everybody wants to have, right? So, love what you do, be okay with getting criticism, internalize that criticism and make yourself better from it. Seek out your elders. There are times where I have a question or I don't understand what's going on. I'll text somebody, I'll call somebody, I'll seek advice on how to handle a situation. Because again, you're not the smartest person in the room. You shouldn't think you're the smartest person in the room. And it's important to understand that you need help. And that's something that I am 1,000% guilty of not asking for the help when I need it sometimes. I'm trying to get better. My wife, God bless her, is working on it, and saying, hey, you're not Superman. You can't do everything, and that's okay. Right. It's okay to ask for a lifeline. It's okay to admit, hey, I don't know how to do this. How do I do this? And that's what I would say to anybody that wants to get into any job field is, those things are not just for broadcast journalism. Those things are not just for TV or sports or whatever. It kind of applies everywhere, right? Like if you're working at a grocery store, you're not going to know everything. You should ask the manager, like, how do I do this? If you're a waiter, you shouldn't know everything. You should ask, what I mean? Like, it's just not, don't think you know everything because trust me, you don't. And it's way worse when you pretend, if you fake it till you make it and you don't make it, it's way worse. Trust me. I promise you, it's way worse. So ask before, feel that little like funny feeling of awkwardness of like, hey man, how do I do this? Get that out of the way. Because then the end result's going to be something that is easily managed versus when you mess up and it goes to millions of people. Because that's happened.
Gotcha. So not being afraid to ask questions. I like that. Great advice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of concludes our little interview. Thank you so much for your time, out of your busy schedule, especially. Thank you so much for meeting with me.
No problem. Have a good one. Good luck. And let me know if I can help in any way.
Okay. Thank you so much.